Hi there, it's Jack. I'm founder and CEO of Grapple, and I'm excited to give you a demo. Here we're looking at a dashboard I've already built in Grapple that shows me my top Stripe customers joined with my HubSpot information. We can see the total amount across all customers, the total amount for my largest customer, the total number of payments, and then some aggregations like my top industries and my top customers again in a different view. It's so easy to build a dashboard like this. I was able to build this in about 2 minutes, and I'm going to show you how I did that now. I've started an empty project over here, and we're going to build the same dashboard we just saw in just a couple minutes. At the top, Grapple lets you filter and drill down through your data with natural language. I can click on Add Filter and describe, for example, last 30 days, and Grapple will automatically only show me payments that went through in the last 30 days. I could also drill this down further and say only status succeeded. And Grapple knows what I mean when I say only. And so it'll update this query to only show me the successful payments. I can remove a filter. And now let's keep going a little bit. I'm going to add a chart. I'm going to add a big number and say sum amount. And Grapple will sum the total amount across all of my customers and add a new line item. I can also, for example, say big number and say average amount if we want to know the average size of a payment. Let's add some more data. Grapple has a deep understanding of how my data works. It ships with a default semantic set of data models, so I don't have to do any data science. For example, I can automatically add data for my Stripe customers, even though I started looking at my Stripe payments. If I come up here to the upper right-hand corner, I can see what tables I have access to in this project, so both payments and customers. When I come over to add field, I can search for additional fields on my customers, for example, like their email or country, or maybe even the description, which is a Stripe field that's often used to store the company name. And so it was that easy for me to pull in additional information from Stripe. But I can also join across apps. So let's connect Stripe to HubSpot. If I come up to add data, I can add a join. And I know, for example, that email address is a common field across many of my apps. So I'm going to join on Stripe email on my customers with contacts on their email and click save. And like I said earlier, Grapple has a deep understanding of how my data works. And so even though I only joined based on email between these two apps, Grapple automatically brought in my HubSpot companies and deals. So now when I head back to my project, I can add data for my CRM. Like, for example, now I can access first name and last name, and even, for example, the name of my company, the company for each contact. But let's also add in the industry. I was able to do all of that without writing any SQL or copying and pasting any code. Let's do a couple more things. I know that some of my Stripe customers don't exist in HubSpot, so I'm going to add a filter that says only customers who are in HubSpot. And Grapple's going to understand how to convert this to a query to filter this data. Awesome. Grapple lets you do aggregation. So if I wanted to, for example, sum revenue by country, I could go group and then country. And then on the amount column, I would add an aggregation of sum. I could also, for example, count the number of customers. And right there, I was able to really quickly pull up a pivot view of my data. But let's remove this grouping and add a couple data visualizations. I can add a chart, for example, with pie charts and say like top 3 industries by amount, and this will generate a pie chart based on that query. It's so fast to generate a chart. And here we can see my top industry is actually, most of my customers are missing an industry name, but computer software and publishing are my most common identified industries. Let's add another chart that shows revenue of the last 6 months, some amount. And Grapple will show me the last 6 months of data using the sum. And so here we can see 2025 has been a little low for revenue. This is all, of course, mock data, not real Grapple revenue data. But it was just that easy for me to build aggregations of my data. Grapple also supports advanced things like custom calculations if you want to perform advanced math or work with dates in a more complicated way. And then we're working on snapshots that you can do things like trend analysis all without writing code. You can export data and share it with your team. Grapple's the end-to-end business intelligence software I wish I would have had the last 10 years as I worked in B2B SaaS companies and digital agencies. It makes it so easy to connect your data sources and start working with your data. It's the world's first DIY data platform, and it makes it the fastest way to work with your data.